is another exclusive rock music star interview. Conducted by Thomas S. Orwad Jr.
Hey everyone, this is Thomas from rockmusicstar.com with another exclusive interview. It is May 18th, 2021, and I have former Grand Funk Railroad singer, songwriter, guitarist Mark Farner as my guest. Mark just recently released an incredible DVD entitled From Chile With Love. This DVD features tracks from Mark's solo career with a great mix of classic Grand Funk Railroad songs. During Mark's dynamic 50-year-plus career, he has sold over 30 million records and has performed in some of the most prestigious places in the world. As a member of Grand Funk Railroad, Mark wrote over 90% of the band's songs. Highlights of his time in the band include having a chart-topping song with I'm Your Captain closer to home, getting kicked off a tour with Led Zeppelin because the audience reacted better to Grand Funk Railroad than they did to Led Zeppelin, and selling out Shea Stadium in New York City, selling 55,000 tickets in just 72 hours, faster than the Beatles did years before. So get ready, here he is, Mark Farner. Hey everyone at Rock Music Star, look who we have today. We have the legendary Mark Farner as our guest. Mark, how are you doing?
I'm doing, but not mildewing, brother.
Oh yeah, I hear ya. So how has life been for you for the last like 13, 14 months or so? How have you handled this whole craziness with the pandemic?
Well, because I don't ever watch mainstream news since the deregulation back in 1996, when it was a 777 rule, it was American families who owned the networks. People, moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas, people with moral conscience over what our children saw and heard.
Mm-hmm.
Up until 96, when the deregulation occurred and all things radio, community, our strength as people in our music got all watered down and spread out by the takeover, the corporate takeover. And now you don't call in and, request songs. You can on some that are still privately owned stations, but most channels that there's some guy in New York, sitting there making a playlist for 4,500 stations across the nation.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is part of the problem.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah. And people ask me to try to compare it to today. Today, it's like, good luck. Really. Yeah. You and I are communicating, through these electronic means. And this is how we have to speak. And sometimes you have to speak between the wires.
Right. Yeah, well, we don't have to worry about any big corporation owning this broadcast. It's just 100% independent. Yes, right back at you. So when was the last time that you played out live?
Last weekend in Ohio, down near Dayton. It was a good crowd. They had a limited capacity, of course. Then they lifted it, I think yesterday or something. It was after we left, but it was okay. Like a 1,900 seat place, and 350 people were there, but they were very enthusiastic, and they made enough noise for 1,950 people. Had a great time, and for the band, it was like, dude, we're chomping at the bit, like busting out of shoot number 4 on Dynamo.
Do you have any plans to go out on like a bigger tour where you actually string together some dates? Have you put anything together yet for that, or are you still waiting to see what happens?
Well, the agency that I'm with, TKO out of Los Angeles, has other acts, of course. And like this coming weekend, I'm booked with Blue Oyster Cult down in St. Augustine, Florida. I think we have several dates in Florida with BOC. And then we go up the East Coast, but it's anybody that's interested in finding out where we're going to be can find out at markfarner.com.
Right. And also on that website, you can buy your brand new DVD, which is a live DVD called Chile With Love. Tell me a little bit about that DVD in particular and that performance performance. How long ago was that recorded?
Well, it was Mark Farner's American band from Chile With Love, and it was recorded a couple of years ago. But when we had booked a tour down through Peru and Brazil and Chile, and the Chilean promoter, Carlos Pastin, called my manager and said that there was one of his friends who owned Abysmal Films and wanted to shoot the concert coming up, and it was a great place. So we, man, they said the magic word, it was, "We'll make you a deal." And so we proceeded, and I think because of the nature of this theater, it's like in the round, and people, the floor is covered, but people even across the way, I can see them. They're all right there, and it's very, communicable, and communicable. So I like to communicate with the audience no matter where they're at. And I think the ones who are in the furthest row away can really appreciate, the exaggerated moves and the things that we're not just entertaining the people in the front. And in this video, you can see that the interaction with the crowd and how the performance is going on. It's spurred by the emotional waves that we get from our fans, and it's love, man. It's what brought us into these freaking bone suits, man, and it's what takes us out of here too. But we're communicating, man. And that DVD, it has 2 bonus videos, one of which is available right now at markfarner.com for a free download if anybody wanted to just check it out. You don't even have to buy the DVD, just check it out. But as you mentioned, Thomas, that the DVD is available there, and we have 5 extra songs, bonus tracks, that we could squeak onto this DVD and give people, because we'd like to release songs every year, but the market is not what it used to be. It changes daily, almost, what's happening with our music. And I just feel like, it really shows in this video that community, the love community, that no matter what the language is, because these Spanish people are singing my songs in American English. They love us. They love me down there because I am who my songs say I am. And that's who shows up on the stage. And they did these videos and did such a good job on the Americana. People think that it was shot someplace in California, someplace on a beach where they're riding, but it was all done in Chile. And man, what a great job they did, Abysmal Films.
Yeah. And you also have a new video out for a song called Never and Always too, which is it's a great video. Tell us a little bit about that one and that song in particular.
Well, yes, Never and Always was on a group of songs that we were thinking about which ones to put on. And so when Carlos Toro heard the song, his mind began to work, and he could see a storyline in his world, his imagination. And he said, "I won't charge you nothing for this. Can I make this video?" And I said, "Hell yes, man." Go ahead. And he came up with the concept, and all I did was I wrote the song, but my part in it is, just laying in that bed, standing up and looking out the window and putting my heart in the expression. And I think he did a wonderful job. And thank God for the song and for the production on it. Tom Fletcher, great production. Proud of it.
You haven't released a full-length record since 2006. Do you think we might see one? I know you kind of talked about that a couple seconds ago, but do you feel like you want to make a new record, or did you write a lot during the pandemic where you could release something new
Yeah,
soon?
I do want to. And in fact, I've been working with Mark Slaughter,
Oh,
and
wow.
we wrote a song. Uh, it's called Anymore, and you will hear it, and you will hear some love in there, and some rocking guitars, and some good, meaningful vocals and harmonies, and we're still working on stuff. I've been working with Jim Peterick from the Ides of March as well,
Hmm.
writing, and we have several songs that we've constructed together. Uh, but we'll have to see. They're only so far along. They're little babies right now, and
Yeah.
what we can do to mature a few of them.
Well, the one thing with you, Mark, is that you sold 30 million records in your career and counting. And I'll tell you, there's always been rocking guitars on every single record. I mean, we expect that from you, and I'm glad that that's not going away anytime soon.
Thank you. I appreciate the encouragement, Brother Thomas.
You got it. I want to go back and talk a little bit about the beginning of your career. I mean, Grand Funk Railroad, what an amazing band. You released your first record in 1969. Tell us a little bit about that. And 1969, that was the year that that Woodstock happened. Did you guys? I know you didn't play it, but were you considered to play, or were you approached to play that at all?
No, we weren't even a band, I mean, that anybody knew. We were a garage band that showed up at Atlanta, Georgia, the 4th of July weekend. And we played their opening band because the attorneys that Terry Knight used out of New York City were doing the legal work for this festival.
Hmm.
And I think they took a reduction in their fee so that their band, Grand Funk Railroad, could open this festival. Nobody had, and the guy, whoever was announcing, he said it wrong 3 days in a row. He
Wow.
couldn't even say it. I'm thinking this guy is too high, but uh, the people could say it. And we opened that festival at noon, and it was 110 degrees in the shade. I'm telling
Wow.
you, hotter than the sheriff's pistol. And the crowd loved us and didn't want us to get off the stage. And they moved us to 7 the next night, and then on to 11 o'clock under the full lights on night number 3. And that's how it's been. It was just like those 3 days. It just went from there,
Wow.
and we were touring the world.
Yeah, I mean, your first record On Time came out on August 25th, 1969, and your first record went to 48 on the Billboard charts. I mean, that's pretty incredible. What was that experience like writing that very first record?
Well, it was, after a lot of hard work, and I mean, practicing at the Flint Federation of Musicians Hall. Uh, that's where a lot of that first album was written. I did, I'd go in and I'd have some jams, and they go, "Well, you got any lyrics?" I said, "Well, I'm just getting this jam together. Well, we'll go down to McDonald's and grab some food, and then you can work on the lyrics." And so I do that. I'd write the songs while they were gone to McDonald's or Burger Whop or whatever, you know, fast food. Uh, but that's what we do. And for some reason, and I can just hear the drone of an engine, like when I'm driving on my tractor. Man, I wrote a lot of songs on a tractor, a lot. You come around, you got the first verse, you get off and run over get in the barn and write that down. You go back to the tractor about 3 more times around the hayfield. Okay, verse number 2. All right. you
Wow.
know yeah. uh, that's the way the songs came. And the people that saw us at that first Atlanta Pop Festival, they saw uh, all those songs on that first album, and they loved them.
Yeah, and
But
plus you.
we ended the set, Thomas, with Land of a Thousand Dances. But
Mm,
Land of a Thousand Dances, the way Wilson Pickett did it, and we would rock that thing. And at the last, I took my guitar off and I'm dancing like crazy, and the people loved it. Because they wanted to see some rock and roll, and I was showing them some rock and roll best
yeah.
I could. It's some
Yeah.
Flint, Michigan rock and roll, and it caught on. It just caught on.
Yeah, and you released your next record, Grand Funk, very soon after, in the same year, on December 29th. How difficult was that to record a record while you're out on the road promoting your first record? How were you able to do that so soon after?
Well, it only took us a matter of a few days to get in, record that record, because I once I started writing, man, it just kept coming. And so we had the material and had it worked up, go into Cleveland Recording Company and have the entire album done in 3 days, overdubs and everything finished. That's like unheard of. It takes you
Especially
3 days
nowadays.
to get the sounds now.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't happen nowadays. Do you think you could possibly do that now if you had to put two records out within, like, a 5-month period?
Well, the only way that we could do that is to skip the click track and do it the old style.
Yeah, I
Run
hear
the
you.
tape, run the tapes, uh, and just play that stuff.
Yeah. And
That's the way you'd have to do it. And we that's what we did. We never did anything. We did the vocals afterwards, but we laid the tracks down, the whole band out there doing it at once. There you go.
yeah, and then the following year, the magic continued with the biggest song of your career. I mean, which is like one of the greatest rock songs ever in the history of the world. I'm Your Captain, Closer to Home. Tell me about that song. I mean, eh, take me from like moment one to when it was finished. I mean, that song, like 50 years later, is still like amazing.
Well, I was saying my "Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep" prayers one night, and like at the end, I put a PS and I asked God to give me a song that would reach and touch the hearts of those that the creator wanted to get to. And I got up in the middle of the night, probably 3 o'clock in the morning or so, and I have a legal pad next to my bed so I can write down any thoughts. And I get a lot of thoughts at night. So, and I learned to put that pad there because some of the best songs, dude, I thought, well, I'll wait till morning and I'll write them down. Nope. I could never muster one of those dream songs. I should have got up and wrote the damn thing. But anyways, there it was. I wrote these words down and I was halfway between heaven and earth in this suspended place that songwriters can go. And I knew better than to try to read what I was writing. I wrote these words forward. I didn't think about reading. I just kept writing and in that state. And when I got a page full of words, it was like shut off, and I just put it over and rolled up into the bed and slept till morning. Got up, made my coffee, and looking out over the pasture at the horses. And I grabbed my George Washburn acoustic guitar out of the kitchen and started playing that. Bop, 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 doo, 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 doo. Well, hey, man, that was pretty cool, And then I grabbed this inversion of a C chord. I, I just, I don't know why, but my fingers went down on that third fret, and I just crossed over and grabbed it, and it chimed this chime, and I went, "Wow, is that ever cool?" And I'm looking at my hand, so I'm trying to, okay, freeze this. Don't ever forget this. This is cool. This is a coolness. And as I'm thinking that, then at that very moment, I was spurred to think, wow, those lyrics, those words, maybe they are lyrics. So I brought them in, I put them on the table, started singing it and grabbing that C chord, and it just spoke to me. And the melody just came to me. Everybody, listen to me. Here it comes. And I wrote and sang that thing, and I gave the glory to the Lord right then. Thank you for that song. And I've lived the thankful life of the guy that received that song.
Yeah, holy cow. What did your band and your record company think of that song when you showed them it for the first time?
Well, when I took it to rehearsal, both Don and Mel said, "Man, that song's a hit, Farner." And so they were right. But I think part you got to give credit where credit is due. And part of that being a hit with people is the orchestration and how the strings, those are acoustic instruments. They're not a keyboard playing, imitating an instrument. They're a real instrument. They're real shit, man. I mean, this is what our bodies like, our ears. And Tommy Baker, the band leader of the Upbeat Show, heard me playing when we were doing the Upbeat Show in Cleveland, Ohio, Channel 5. And he said, "What is that song?" And I said, "This one that we're going to record is called I'm Your Captain." Uh, and he says, "Man, I heard you over there." He says, "I'm hearing things, Farner." He says, I'm hearing real good stuff in my head with that." He says, "When you get to the end, just go on over and over. Just give me room to stretch out on this." He says, "I'm hearing stuff. You got to give it to me." And I said, "Okay, man, we will do it." We got in there and I told the guys, I said, "Tommy said to let it roll. And when we can't play another round, give him 10 more." So we did over and over and over. And he created all that orchestration in there and made that song the adventure that people go on,
Yeah, it
you know.
definitely. Was there any feedback from the record company about maybe making it shorter so they could, solicit it to radio stations as a single? Was that ever mentioned or?
Yes, and they wanted to drop the fourth verse out of it. "I can feel the hand of a stranger tightening
Oh
around
yeah,
my throat." They
yeah,
wanted to drop that out, and I said, "No, man, you can't drop that out. That that's an important part of the song. That ain't even halfway through." It's got to be said. But I think there was a version that was released, for like what you just mentioned for a
yeah,
sing.
yeah. And so at that point, I mean, Grand Funk Railroad is like bigger than ever I'm assuming at that point, correct?
Oh yes.
Yeah, I mean, you're headlining everywhere. You I just want to go back to like before that part. Did you guys ever like have any like opening slots for like the Rolling Stones or the Who or any bands like that? Did you ever do any support slots for them?
Yeah, we opened. Well, we were on a festival that opened for the Stones. The Stones closed it in West Palm Beach, Florida, and it was at a raceway, and we were using a Huey helicopter that had been redone like a motorhome on the inside with all these plush cushions and pin spots, and the band would ride out and back to the hotel. They would shuttle back and forth. Well, Janice stayed because she had gone on first. Janis Joplin went on
Yeah,
first and stayed to watch us. And anytime that we were on the same bill together, Janice and I always hung out together. We were good friends. We were not boyfriend, girlfriend. We're just really good friends, solid friends. And so she stayed to watch us, and she rides back on the helicopter with us. This is dark. I mean, this is like 1 o'clock in the morning or something. We land this thing on the beach, and the crew and everybody's going back up to the hotel there. And I'm looking up there and I'm trying to find Janice. And I said, "Hey, is Janice up there?" "No, she ain't up here." And I said, "Well, give me one of the flashlights." So I take one of their flashlights and I go back down to the chopper, and she's up there. She's like massaging the seats, and then she'd move over and then she'd do the next time. And I'm looking up there thinking, what in the world is this girl doing? So I get up on the rung of the chopper and I go, "Hey," and she turned around. She said, "You scared the life out of me." You should have seen the look on her face. Oh my God. And as I step up into the chopper, I can see that she has taken the Hershey bars that she carried around in that great big purse of hers with the ripple and the Southern Comfort and all the other stuff that she had in there, and she's smashing Hershey bars into the seats on that. I said, "What are you doing that for, baby?" She looks at me. She says, "I want to mess up Mick's britches."
Oh, wow.
Bless her heart. Her and I talked about it, and we both thought the same thing, that they said something about a British invasion, but it's total flattery when someone imitates what you do. So when I go to England, I don't sing in the King's English. I sing in American English. I mean, that's what they expect. And with that phenomena of these English bands, Australian bands, other bands coming and singing in American English, that's imitation. I thank God. And I want to remind people that this is our land. We grew that rock and roll from the people that were here, from the blues artists down south, and the bottleneck and all of that turned into rock and roll and continued. It was a means for people to express themselves, and a means for people to have fun, to dance, and that, it's, of course, it has to carry on in that way. But as we mentioned, we don't have the same avenues, and so the mindset too of the people has kind of been changed around to adapt to these new ways of doing things.
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but anything that I can't see, I mean, like the money thing, like this uh, electronic money,
Yep.
that's how does that work? I can't even, it doesn't compute, dude. It's like,
Yeah, well, I don't know exactly. I kind of know how it works, but I know that one thing is that a lot of people who are investing in it are making a lot of money, and it's making a lot of people super rich. And
yeah,
it's, so
they're getting paid in.
well, they're getting paid in regular dollars, which is the ironic part of it. I never thought of that, but yeah, that is the irony behind it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to ask you that. This is something I've wondered for a long time, and that's the date is July 9th, 1971. You were playing Shea Stadium. You broke a record for having the fastest sellout ever, beating the Beatles record. You sold out 55,000 seats in 72 hours. Okay, now I want to hear all about the show and all the little nuances of playing that particular show.
Well, playing that show, that was when Humble Pie was the original band, and they opened for us, and we really loved those guys. That's when Frampton was in the band, and Marriott, and they were uh, they were great together. They really had a good chemistry. Um, and so we, thinking about that, we knew we were going to follow a crowd that had been revved up, and because they spoke the same kind of rock and roll as we spoke, in the same vein, and their influences. I know that Marriott, when we were on tour in Europe and they were opening for us, he would be listening to all of this Motown stuff and all of this soul music. And before they would go on, and he's over there singing in the dressing room, I'm thinking, man, yeah, that's where he got his roots, was just like, I got my roots in Flint, Michigan for the same reason. Uh, and when we found out we were going to do Shea Stadium and that it sold out like crazy, it's like, oh my gosh, my mom's got to come. My stepdad, we bring him to New York City, and, you know, really try to make it right and a memorable thing for them as well. And it was. And so when we flew over from the East River, we took a heliport and took this big chopper up and go over the stadium. And I go, oh my God, I look down there. The stadium it's just bouncing. I'm thinking, oh my God, that thing's going to collapse. There's all those people. but it was rocking. Humble Pie had them rocking. They were ready. Good Lord. They were really ready when I say ready. But we landed in a parking lot where the limo was supposed to be. It was not there. So one of the guys that was in the chopper with us runs down to the phone booth. This was a long time before cell phones. So he runs down, he makes a call. In about 2 or 3 minutes, we had cop cars with lights and sirens going, come in. We jump in the back of the cop cars and away we go to Shea Stadium. We pull in and there's the limo right there. So we get out of the cop cars, we get into the limo, drive into the stadium. It's like crazy, crazy, crazy. And when we got out, the crowd went nuts. We walked up on stage and we entertained our brothers and sisters. And it was a good day in New York City.
Yeah. I mean, that's a legendary show. How long did it take the whole like the high of playing that show for you to come down from it?
I still ain't.
That is awesome. Yeah. So after that, did you still play a lot of other stadiums throughout North America? Were you pretty much a stadium band at that point?
No, no, we just did Shea, and then we did some stadiums in Puerto Rico. We did some ball stadiums, and in Italy we did some ball stadiums. Oh my God! In Milano, Humble Pie was on stage, and there was so many people that were outside. There were thousands of people that wanted to, get in there and see us. And Humble Pie's rocking their asses off. And the National Guard shows up. They shoot tear gas. It goes over the wall down in front of the stage and cleared that place out. Oh my God. It was unbelievable. We were down in the dugout or, in the dressing rooms back in there when it all started. And we were just listening to Humble Pie. And when we heard them stop, it was like, what the heck's going on? And then it wasn't long before you knew what was going on because that tear gas falls,
Wow.
and it
Yeah.
fell down those steps and we were going, oh my God. Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow. You're making me wish I was born 10 years earlier so I could witness the magic of Humble Pie and Grand Funk Railroad. I mean, that must have been absolutely incredible. What a great bill.
Yeah, it was really good. And I really liked Marriott. He was quite the guy. We would be setting after a gig. We would go in Germany into a pub that's got dancing and music, loud music, and we're just sitting over there, him and I, singing to each other across the table, and we're harmonizing this far apart in each other's face, you know, doing the
Wow.
songs that we love. It was great, and all the guys would like, who are these guys?
Yeah.
They're standing around like, oh man. But it
Well,
was, I like to hear people sing. I
yeah.
like
And
to hear,
once they figured out who it was, they probably freaked out. I mean, two of the greatest rock stars of all time together. Did you ever talk to him about maybe collaborating at all? Was that ever mentioned?
no, we did, Peter Frampton did come on stage with us in Detroit at Pine Knob, and he played with us
Hmm.
and guest starred when we were doing the thing for Bosnia. Um, and then in New York City, it was Leslie West, and in Los Angeles, it was Billy Preston and Slash.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was good to have guest stars. I
Yeah,
love
definitely.
playing with other musicians because it always expands who you are, your horizon. I mean, you get inspiration. And
Yeah.
when I was with Ringo, I got Randy Bachman showed me the chords that he made on his hands yeah, this was the power G. And I'm going, oh yeah, man, thank you. I'll use that. We pass things back and forth to each other. It's good.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about your time in Ringo Starr in a couple minutes. I want to talk about 1973 with the "We're an American Band" record that came out. Again, another highlight of your career. Tell me a little bit about making that one. Todd Rundgren was the producer for that. What was it like working with Todd? And tell us about the experience of doing that record.
it was a great experience. We did it in Florida at Criteria, and somebody had mentioned that recording at sea level is supposed to be cool or something. I don't know, maybe have an advantage but that was a good session. But I had a little accident prior to us leaving, like 2 days before we left for Florida. A horse broke my nose. I was loading a horse in a trailer, and he was trying to walk through the walkout door in the front with me, and I backing him up. But what I didn't know was my neighbor had come over, and she snapped the safety chain on the back of the trailer. So I'm backing him into a chain. I'm trying to get him to back up, and he feels that, and he just throws his head, and bang, I went down, and my neighbor came up. Oh my God, I didn't know you didn't want me to. Well, it was, bless her heart, she didn't know. And I would never hold nothing like that against her. And maybe, just maybe, it contributed to the sound. I'm just saying that really made that a good hit record.
Wow.
Well, it did contribute to the sound. There is no
Yeah.
doubt about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
So,
rearranged my nose when I got back.
yeah.
Yeah.
What
Doc-
was it like with having Todd Rundgren as your producer for that record?
Well, in my opinion, Todd is a musical genius. I like him. I like what he did. He was a very free, spirited, free flowing, free information. He wasn't holding anything back, not hiding anything kind of guy. I like that. And he showed me that when I asked for a certain frequency, I said 3.5K or something in the guitar in the right channel, he says, instead of goosing that frequency, let's take the equalizer and pull down the frequencies around it that are keeping you from hearing it.
Mhm.
They're taking up that space. And I thought, wow. He said, because you're adding to the noise floor when you add a frequency, when you're pushing the SPL on a frequency. So
Mm.
I learned it. I learned that, and I hope other people learn that from me, just remembering I learned it.
Yeah, that's pretty. Who would have thought of that? I mean, that's probably at the time it was like, foreign to you to even
Yeah.
think of that concept.
Yep. I
Yeah.
was guitar player all the way. If you want more treble, just turn more treble.
Yeah, right.
Don't duck the other things. No.
Yeah. Wow. So that's cool. And then but 3 years later, you guys in 1976, you guys ended up breaking up. You released you had Frank Zappa produce your last record, which was called Good Singing, Good Playing. What was the band's frame of mind at that point, and why why the breakup?
Well, we were at rehearsal, and I say we, Mel and I, and Craig Frost, and we were waiting on Don to show up, and he was late, but he was never late for anything. And we thought, well, maybe wonder if we should call and see if maybe it was an accident or something. This was back in the 70s. And he shows up and walks in, and he said, oh, I'm going to tell you guys, I got to find something more stable to do with my life. I'm out of here. I'm over it, he says. And we went, wait a minute. Did you just say you quit the band? Yeah, I'm over it. I'm through, he says. Got to find something more stable to do with his life. And it kind of threw everybody for a loop. But I thought, man, I'm not going to quit touring. I'm not going to, I'm too young to stop. I got more music to put out there. So I formed my solo band and did 2 records with Atlantic Records. And then Grand Funk regrouped in 1981. And that's when Mel called me and said, I'm not going to California. I'm afraid to fly. And we'd had some close calls in airplanes. And I thought that he was telling me the truth, and maybe he was on one hand, but it wasn't the whole truth, as it turns out. But I won't get into that. I'll just tell you that we had to get Dennis Bellinger from Flint, Michigan, a bass player, a friend of mine, that could also do background vocals, and it was a good, it was a good band, but it wasn't Mel Shocker. It was, we went out as Grand Funk Railroad, but without Mel. But we had his consent. We had an affidavit from him that he signed that he would hold us harmless and all that stuff, and we went out. But then my manager died in New York City. I was in Hong Kong at the time, and I was doing clinics for PV Corporation. And when I got the news that Andy Cavalieri had died, of course, I came right back. I was supposed to go to Australia from there, but I came right home, and I was there for Andy's funeral, and there with his family, good friends. We all were good friends. And from that point, the band broke up because Don and I kept trying to get what we needed, the band's, bookwork, papers, everything that, you know, was legally keeping track for us. And the executor of the estate would not give us anything. And it was something, some kind of fear tactic or something. I don't know what it was. Uh, it just didn't feel right. And the band had to break up. And so we went our separate ways again. Of course, then in 95, Mel contacted me after I was out with Ringo Starr, you know. He said, well, what would you think about putting the band back together again? I said, well, if Don's into it, I'd give it a go. If you're going to be in it, I said, you said you were afraid of flying. He says, yeah, and then he went on to tell me some other things. But we did get back together and we toured, and but before we got out on the first date, I told him, they were saying to me in Punch Andrew's office, the first manager for this reunion of Grand Funk, that they wanted me not to play any Mark Farner solo dates because it would be in competition with the Grand Funk dates. And so I said, okay, but I'll only do that for a period of 2 years. I'll put that much into it of just Grand Funk. I said, but I have a solo audience. Obviously, I've been out making all these tours uh, for all these years. And so we went on. And then at the end of 1998, Don came to me after a gig one night in California and told me that we needed to sign the individual ownership of the trademark into the corporation where it would have some protection. And I thought he was looking out for the best interest of the band, and that, and I didn't finish high school and he had gone to law school. I just thought, yeah, man, I'm supposed to do this. So I told him, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And he says, okay, I'll go to my room and get the papers. And I thought, well, why didn't he just bring the papers with him? It didn't dawn on me. This was after a party, after the show party that we'd been to, and we were, going to bed. But I signed my name on there, and that gave those guys 2/3 against 1/3 in a voting situation to put me out of the corporation as an officer, and then to tour without me. Yeah, it's they go out because they can legally say that they are Grand Funk Railroad. But ethically, I wrote 92% of that music. And I can tell you from being that guy that created that much of it, they are not who my songs say I am.
Right. Yeah, what a horrible disservice to the fans by doing that.
And not letting anybody know. At least Creedence Clearwater Revisited, there's a heads up there.
Yeah.
There's a heads up, and you could then explore and see, well, what makes this different? There should be some kind of advertising honesty that we adhere to.
Hmm. Yeah. Do you still have? Do you still own the 1/3 of the name though?
I am a shareholder only. I have no say in any of their decisions. Just really,
Hmm.
on yeah.
That's horrible. That really is. I'm sure like if the original band got together like right now, I mean it would be huge. Would you go back and work with them after they did that to you, or did they burn that bridge?
No, Thomas, dude, I've been pitching that same thing for over 20 years. Every time there's that corporate meeting and I sit in to see what they're saying, what that corporation is doing. I'm a third shareholder. I can sit there. Uh, but I pitch at the same time. Why not put the band back on the road? Aren't you supposed to be doing what corporations are supposed to do to make the most money for
Yeah.
the shareholders? Did that ever cross your mind? There's a legal fiduciary duty that the president and these officers of the corporation need to live up to. But the it's just disregard for my words, total laughing, and it's not worked so far. I've heard people have told me that that Don says never say never, but he says that just because it's something to say, it's something
Yeah.
to shut people up. It stops the conversation, but he's not there. It's not gonna happen uh, because of that. And even just the financial, as you mentioned, the financial gain of putting the real band out there, even if it was Mel Shocker and I without Don, would still get the same price as the full band because I wrote 92% of those songs.
Yeah.
They can't get that price because they don't have that guy.
Yeah. With you in the band, I mean, I think that it could be like an amphitheater tour as opposed to them playing like, little like state fairs and casinos, which they're doing right now. And,
Yeah,
playing in front of 2,000 people, they could probably be playing in front of like 10, 11,000 people
that's what
if
I'm
they
saying,
did it
brother.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. That's
And I
terrible.
keep I keep praying for it.
Yeah. I hope it happens. I really do. And I'm sure
I
millions of other
I
people do as well.
I forgive them because they're just off their path. People get off their path in this life. The pursuit of money, and just we're trying to sustain whatever it is and whoever it is we're involved with, and we're playing our part in this world, but we lose track of that, you know the love, the forgiveness that really, uh, it's what made America great to start with. We had great people that knew how to forgive, and it wasn't all this, you know, racial disorder and all of the crap that has been coming down. That is
Mhm.
not the United States. That is not the heartbeat. I'm telling you, man, all of our blood is red. I don't care what color. We got to get away from that, uh, you know, taking people at, because of the color of their skin, classifying them all in one. Are you kidding me? How
Yeah.
how stupid. And people fall for it for some reason. I don't know. I just know that you got to be brain dead to be racist in any way.
Amen.
You got to live the forgiveness and show it. That's what the United States is about. And I'm not taking any other explanation because, like, a lot of people are just off their path right now, buddy.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. I want to go back to talking about Frank Zappa, who produced your last record. I just want to know what was it like working with Frank Zappa? Again, like, he was producing the record, good singing, good playing. What was he like as a producer?
Well, he was great. He was a wonderful guy, a fun guy to be with. In fact, I heard him say in interviews after he had produced the record that, what convinced him to work with us was when the band came in and Frank was standing in the doorway of the control room, and the hallway is, like 5 feet wide. You get a big equipment down through there, it's double doors on it. And the band comes in, always goofing around, and Craig Frost he bends over and grabs Don Brewer's leg and backs up to him and farts right on his thigh. He just blew a big on his thigh, and Zappa lost. He lost it. And he said that was what really convinced him that he needed to work with Grand Funk.
That's really funny.
What a humble guy he was. Great guy. And he didn't do drugs, man. He didn't,
Yeah.
he'd give them virgin cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just a musical genius. I mean, serious. The guy had it going on, and he was way ahead of himself.
Yeah.
But too bad the disease got him, and took him out.
Yeah.
But one of the points I really like about Frank is that we were whittling down what songs were actually going to. This is when they were still on, the records.
Yeah.
33 1/3, little hole in the middle. He says, we don't have room for the 15 or 16 songs that we were working on. He says, so which ones we're going to take off here? He says, what about this? Don't let them take your gun. I said, nah, man, that one's staying. And well, why are you so adamant about it? I said, I'll tell you why I'm adamant. Then I explained to him the Second Amendment. And I said, what is it about necessary for the freedom of state that people don't understand? These were the people that started and had suffered everything to be able to speak this and put a constitution together for those of us who want to be free. What is there about this that you can't understand? He just went, wow, dude, I got it. I get it. Thank you, God. He's going, holy shit, I get it, Yeah, I get it. He says, I've never shot a gun. He says, I've always kind of been against guns, I said, well, would you like to shoot a gun? He says, yeah, man. He says, I said, what would you want to shoot? He says, you got a Dirty Harry? I said, yeah. I go across the street to the farm. I grab my Model 29 Smith & Wesson, and I brought it over, and I talked Frank through it, showed him. He dry fired this Smith to my satisfaction that he could do it. And instead of loading it with 44 Magnum, I put 44 Special in there, which will fit that cylinder, but it won't jump out of his hands. So I was going to put a target, he says, nah, I want just put some cans out there. So we put beer cans up on the hill. And that first can, he drew down on it. And from a good 35 feet away from it, he drilled it right dead nuts center. And he swings around. Did you guys see that? And we're like ducking down, going, dude, gun safety, gun safety. Oh, yeah. He was so excited. His eyes were this big. Loved working with him. He was a great guy.
Yeah. And then, like I said, we mentioned earlier, Ringo Starr, you played in this band from 94 to 95. What was the experience like playing in the Ringo Starr All-Star Band?
It was a very educational experience. Always, as I mentioned, working with Randy Bachman.
Mm-hmm.
He was a great guy to work with, shared his knowledge. I like people that share their knowledge. And with Billy Preston, loved working with Billy again. He used to open for Grand Funk with his band, the Billy Preston band. And with Felix Cavalieri, I used to do his songs when we were playing the nightclubs down in Ashtabula, Ohio. We played on the lakeshore. And having Zach Starkey on drums, of course, I knew he was going to be there because when I talked to Ringo on the phone, he was in Monaco, and he told me that he was not going to be the drummer on the tour. I said, really? Who's going to be the drummer? He says, my son, Zach. And I went, okay, yes. Score. That's a good drummer right there. He can slap those drums, a good one. And then, you know, we had Mark Rivera was on acoustic guitar back there and on the percussion and sang, you know, Mark sings his ass off. Great guy. And Ringo was a perfect gentleman to all of us, except when John would get so loud that Ringo couldn't stand in front of that stack. And he'd turn around and say, turn that damn thing down. Go back there. But that poor guy was deaf. He was deafer than a post. And I felt for him that he had to turn it up that loud, but I was stationed next to him and I had to move off axis of that speaker to avoid losing my equilibrium. And he would stand right in front of it in that zone and zone out. But it was a great band to work with. You know, we had all those dates in Japan that we, you know, really polished our stuff. And by the time we got to the US, Ringo was so pissed that a video had leaked out and got back to the US before we had landed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was mad. But now with everybody in their phone, there's videos going everywhere. But back then, you know, 95, that was, he was kind of pissed. And
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
good to work with.
Yeah.
Wonderful man.
Yeah. You worked with some great people. You also appeared on Alice Cooper's most recent record as well. What was that experience like for you?
It was great because I got to work with Wayne Kramer, who I have a respect for that guy. That's a Michigan thing, you
Yeah.
know, to see him on the stage at the state fair, to see MC5 come out and every head within a half mile went, what is that? You know, I was like, and that's what they brought. They brought that energy. And I was really looking forward to setting with Wayne and playing that music. And with Johnny B, he was a drummer in one of my solo bands for a couple of years with Mark Goujon. And we reunited in the heart because he's one of those fat, deep groove drummers too. He really lays it down, lays that law in there. And to work with Paul Randolph, the bass player, he's a Detroit boy. And that's the first time I'd ever met him or even heard of him. And he was very impressive. And when we sang the background vocals, especially, I just admired the way he sang. And I asked him if he would be interested in touring with me. Yeah, man, I'd be interested. And we worked it out. And he's now touring with Mark Farner's American Band.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's great.
And let me just tell you that Bob Ezrin is an intense producer. He's an intense human being. He's lived through a lot. He's suffered a lot, but he's not going to let anything get him down. He's an intense guy. And I love him. And to work with Alice, a very humble man. He's a good, humble Christian man. That's all I can tell you, man. He fits it. He fits it.
Yeah. Well, that's great. We'll end the interview there. I appreciate your time so much, Mark. I could probably talk to you for 4 hours, but I'm sure you don't want to talk to me for 4 hours because you have things to do. How do you want to? What would you like to leave us with today, and tell all your fans before we take off?
Okay. Well, I'd like to leave with everybody the notion that indebtedness is our worst enemy. The 4-letter word debt, look it up in the dictionary, but your mind is encumbered by the weight of debt in every situation, not just money debt, but that is definitely counted as part of it, but the debt of unfulfilled expectations of other people. And especially if it's family people and they call somebody and tell them about the rub that you got. And so that person takes that person's side and calls And it's this debt, this indebtedness. There's no forgiveness in the play at all. And it's what we have to get rid of. Get that out of your life, because we are missing who we are meant to be. We need to live in the love condition, in the forgiving condition, and to forgive other people with the same measure that we expect to be forgiven. We need to adhere to that for the sake of our souls. And we are the only ones who can do it. Nobody's going to walk up and lay their hands on you and say, okay, you're free. If you could do it, I'd do it. But I'm telling you, you can do it. You have to do it. You emancipate yourself from any indebtedness. And Thomas, I pray every morning before my feet go out on that floor, I'm asking the Lord to show me where I'm still strapped by some former indebtedness, state of indebtedness, but I'm getting free, dude. I'm setting myself free, and it feels freaking good. It really feels good. I am the captain of my soul, as all my brothers and sisters are. And when you get in touch with that power, that is the power that puts you here and takes you from here. And you're in perfect continuity with God.
No, those are good words to live by, Mr. Farner. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure interviewing you. And
Thank
hopefully
you.
we'll see you on the road soon.
You got it.
All right. There he is, everyone. Mark Farner. Thanks again, Mark. Take it
Okay,
easy.
brother.
Bye.
Bye for now.